Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hoga With It. Today I have an unhaul for you. I need to get rid of these books, get them off my shelves. Now, the reasons that I might be getting rid of these books are kind of twofold. Either I read them and I hated them, or I read them and I just didn't love them enough to keep them on my shelves. I've got a really good rule that I set for myself, so if I gave a book 3 stars or below, it's off of my shelf, because at the end of my life, I want the books on my shelves to either be books that I didn't read, that would be really sad, but either books that I hadn't read yet, or books that I adored that reflected me as a human being. That's just my dream, so that, you know, my niece and nephew can kind of go to my shelves and go, oh, Aunt April really liked these, and maybe they'll get something from them. So that's what I do. Now, some of these I got another copy of, so I had dual copies and I'm just getting rid of the extra one. So, all right, enough talking, April. Let's get into it. I'm going to start by diving into the whole Linda Castillo series. Now, I read Sworn to Silence by Linda Castillo, and I loved this book. Loved it. It is about Kate Burkholder. She lives in this tiny community where there's also an Amish community. She grew up Amish, left the Amish community, became the head of police. And there is a murderer killing girls, and she is somehow involved. Her story from her childhood is involved in it. I loved it very, very much. She does not shy away from gore and violence, and I really liked the grittiness of it. So I thought that I would love the whole series, and as you know, I went ahead and bought almost the entire series. So I started listening to Pray for Silence and hated it, if I'm being honest. I found it just boring. Kate Burkholder no longer was personally involved in any of these storylines, and I didn't really like the writing. I just wasn't a fan at all. I DNF'd it. So I'm getting rid of Pray for Silence. This was the second. I think Breaking Silence was the third. Now these last few, I don't know. I think I only had the first 3 in order, and then these are further on in the series, but I've got Gone Missing. I'm going to be getting rid of The Dead Will Tell, After the Storm, and Among the Wicked. So I'm passing along those books. I don't need books in my life where I'm actually frustrated with the main character. I just want good writing alone, and that's that. So I'm probably going to be starting to really pick up all of Karen Slaughter's books. She has 2 detective series. I know that I like Karen Slaughter. Like, I know that I love her. So I would be very surprised if I didn't like her detective series. So I think that's where I'm going to go instead of Linda Castillo, because loved her first, couldn't stand the rest. Or at least the second, I couldn't do it. So, okay. Next up, I've got Everyone Brave is Forgiven by Chris Cleave. I read this very recently, and I enjoyed it. This is about World War II, and we're following, you know, everyday citizens in World War II. We do follow one person who serves in the war, but most of the people that we're following in here are everyday citizens, and it was really interesting to kind of read from that perspective. I liked that, you know, these people were worried about average, normal things, like what their hair looked like, and like they were just going about their lives a lot of the time. I also thought it was really interesting, because this takes place in England, the perspective of the bombs dropping. I liked how, you know, you might be, one of our main characters might be talking to someone 1 minute and the next minute that person is blown to bits. I thought that was really interesting because that is kind of how it would happen, right? Like you would just be talking to someone on the battlefield in a bunker or something, and then suddenly they're dead. I imagine that's how it really would happen. So I appreciated that. But what I struggled with was I didn't feel any connection to the characters themselves. And I also felt like they didn't have very much of a connection with each other. And I just don't think that that's very realistic for World War II. I don't know. I just wanted more. I wanted to feel more. And I didn't feel a lot. And for that reason, I'm passing it on to someone who might love it. Also, I'm really upset that I'm getting rid of this book because of the cover. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I'm really sad to say goodbye. I did enjoy it. I just wanted more, and for that, I'm passing it along. Okay, so another book that I read and was not really a fan of was Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. Now, if you are someone who likes Agatha Christie, you know, Hercule Poirot, I'm probably butchering his name, I'm sorry. But if you love those series, classic murder mysteries, you will probably like this book because it really pays homage to that, and I really liked that. I thought that was very sweet. This follows an editor who's like hunkering down to read the manuscript of a very prolific writer, and it's the writer on their publishing, from their publishing house that's like the most famous, the writer who brings in the most bucks for this publishing house. So she's hunkering down. She gets to very near the end and the last 2 chapters are missing, and she's like, what in the world? And then she finds out that the writer died, and you know, she's trying to find out what happened. So what's interesting about this book is you start out meeting the writer. Fail, I meant the editor. And then you read that manuscript with her. So you read a totally different mystery, because this writer is a mystery writer. And so you read that, and then you too are missing the 2 chapters at the end. So I loved that. I thought that was really fun, but I was kind of bored by both stories. I just wasn't pulled in the way that I wanted to be. I'm really sad that I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I do like a little bit of more grit in my mysteries. And this was very cozy mystery. This was very cozy mystery. Yeah. So, you know, Robin over at The Driftless Reader, if you are watching this video, I genuinely think you would like this because you love cozy mysteries. So I wish I could like pass this through the actual screen to someone like Robin. But yeah, if you like cozy mysteries, this I think you would love. It is well written. So, yes, I'm not hating on this book at all. It just wasn't really for me. Next up is a book that I have 2 of, and that is The Year of Wonders. This is a novel about the plague, and it takes place in 1666, and we follow Anna in England. The plague has come to her town, and it's about how she deals with it. But if you can notice, I have a copy right there. So I don't need 2. I'm going to pass that on to someone else. Next up is The Myths of Happiness by Sonia Lyubomirsky. This book I picked up because I read her other book about happiness. Where is that? I picked this one up because I had read The How of Happiness by her and absolutely loved it. In fact, I would like to read this again. The How of Happiness breaks down how individuals need to be happy and what they particularly need in their lives. There's like tons of quizzes in there, and it really does help you figure out the things that you need in your life to make you happy. I loved that book. So I thought I was going to love this book just as much, but I didn't. So this book kind of breaks it down into different sections. So we've got things like the concept of, I need to find the love of my life to be happy. And she kind of debunks that. And then there's, I need children to be happy. I opened it up to that chapter thinking that it would be something to help me out. It's definitely something that I've been struggling with. I really want a child, and I think I've let my desire to have a child kind of put my whole life on pause. Like, obviously we're not traveling to Zika places where Zika virus is rampant, but we haven't been traveling much generally, and I can definitely get consumed with wanting a child, which means wanting to be pregnant and making that happen. And I've noticed my happiness has just plummeted. So I looked to this book because I thought it was going to help me with that. But it went into how, you know, how children can be, you know, not the ideal. It's not this like picture perfect scenario. You're going to get annoyed by little things. You have a lot more appointments. You have little annoyances that can happen when you have a child, you know, more than you would have if you don't have a child. And that was fine. But then it started talking about parenthood. The whole thing ended up being about parenthood. And that's not at all what I needed to read. And I just thought this was a really misleading book. So I'm done. Really pissed me off, actually. I was really searching for some help. But that's fine. I can figure it out on my own. I can just read The How of Happiness again or something, and then, I don't know, get some help through that. Okay, blah, I talked a lot there. On to Amy Tan's The Valley of Amazement. The only reason I'm getting rid of this is because I got a beautiful hard copy edition of it, and this is like a mass market paperback. You can't really tell because of how tall it is, but it is mass market. It's very thick and tiny writing. So I don't need this because I've got a beautiful hardcover copy. Love me some Amy Tan. Okay, next up is The Japanese Lover by Isabel Allende. Oh, it's Allende. Someone told me it's Allende. You don't pronounce the L's. Whoever told me that, thank you, because I'm having that moment right now. Isabel Allende. I enjoyed this book. This is about a woman at a nursing home, and the nurse or caretaker that takes care of her. They both have storylines in here and, you know, histories that are very difficult. This elderly woman fell in love with this Japanese man when she was young. However, this was at the time of World War II, so the Japanese were not really widely accepted at that time. And there's a portion in here about a Japanese internment camp and about these lovers and what happened to them in their lives when they were basically torn apart, and were they ever able to come back together. I enjoyed this book. I did not feel anything for the characters, and I thought, you know, this is high stakes, very similar to Everyone Brave is Forgiven. I mean, we're talking about World War II. These people are in the most strenuous, difficult time of their lives, you'd assume. And I wanted to feel so much more, but I didn't. And so for that reason, I'm going to pass this along. I hope that someone will love it because this is such a beautiful cover as well. And, you know, she is a great writer. So I hope someone else just loves it. Last up, I've got Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Now, I'm going to be passing this along to one of my coworkers at work. asked if I had any thrillers to give her. And she was like, I want a domestic thriller, just kind of drama. And I was like, yeah, this'll do it. Now, I didn't love this book. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I actually went from 3 stars to 2 stars because the more I thought about it, the more I was annoyed. This is about Jack and Grace. They seem to have the perfect marriage, and yet Grace is not allowed to go out for coffee. Grace is not allowed to go out for lunch with her friends. Like, she can't do anything. She doesn't pick up the phone. And her friends, the people around her, think it's a little bit weird, but they also know that they seem to have this perfect marriage. And the idea is, you know, it might look all great from the outside, but on the inside, it's not wonderful. What I didn't understand about this book, and the reason that I gave it 2 stars, is this scenario just would not happen. It could not happen. There were so many times in here that I thought, well, why can't they do this instead? Why can't they do that instead? This is an opportunity for you to run away. This is an opportunity for you to cry out for help. There were too many times that there were outs that I didn't buy why this scenario was going on. I'm sorry that I'm being super elusive and not really clear, but I don't want to ruin it for anyone if they want to read this. I do want to read something else by B.A. Paris because I thought the writing itself was okay, but she didn't sell me on the scenario, and I don't know, it didn't work for me. So I'm definitely passing that along to my coworker, and okay, that's it. Those are the books I'm getting rid of. I'm excited because that means I have more space on my shelves. I'm also really proud of myself that I'm getting rid of those Kate Burkholder series books because usually I'd hold on to them. It's like my Philippa Gregory books that I've bought the entire series, the whole damn series, and I know in my gut that I'm not gonna like them. I read one and I was like, ew. And now I know that I'm not going to like them, but there's something inside of me that's like, I got to keep them just in case. I like one. I don't know. But at least I'm starting somewhere with the Kate Burkholder series. It's not working for me. It's got to go. So let me know what book you got rid of from your shelves and you were so freaking glad it was gone. I would love to know. Just offhand, I remember the huge relief that I felt when I got rid of Twilight. I read Twilight, was told from a coworker that it was going to be the best thing on earth, and it might be my most hated book. And I just remember when I passed that along to someone else, I was like, it's gone. It's gone from my life, and it felt wonderful. So anyway, I want to know what yours is, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.